They call you an introvert like it's a diagnosis, like it's something that needs to be fixed, managed, medicated. You've sat through the workshops about coming out of your shell. You've nodded through the well-meaning advice, just try to socialize more, put yourself out there, you'll feel better. You've watched extroverts get promoted, get praised, get called leaders, while you sat in the back of the room thinking 10 times more clearly than anyone speaking. And every single time you felt it, that quiet, burning awareness that no one was actually seeing you. They were seeing the gap where they wanted you to be. But psychology has something to say about that, and it's not what they've been telling you. You are not broken, you are not incomplete, you are not someone who needs to be fixed into someone else. You are not a muted version of an extrovert. You are a completely different architecture, and the world has been trying to renovate you instead of understanding you. Your silence isn't a symptom, it's a design feature, and it runs deeper than anyone who's never experienced it will ever know. Here's a picture most people get completely wrong. They think the introvert is the person standing alone at a party, wishing they could be more like everyone else. Head down, uncomfortable, counting the minutes until they can leave. But that's not what's actually happening inside you. What's actually happening is this. You walked into that room and your brain immediately did something no one else's brain did. It started processing. The conversation's happening in 3 different corners of the room. The body language of the person telling a story that doesn't quite match their face. The subtle tension between 2 people across the table pretending to get along. The energy of the room, whether it's real or performed. While everyone else was performing, you were reading. And you were reading faster and more accurately than anyone talking in that room realized. Neuroscience has a name for this. Studies using brain imaging show that introverts have significantly more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, reflection, and internal processing, compared to extroverts. Your brain isn't doing less, it's doing more. It's running a deeper analysis on every input it receives, which is exactly why too much stimulation feels like overload rather than energy. You're not drained by people, you're drained by noise that demands a response before you finish processing it. And this is where the second truth lives, and this one most people never hear. Introverts don't go quiet because they have nothing to say. They go quiet because they refuse to say something that isn't ready yet. Think about the way most conversations work. Someone asks a question, 3 seconds pass. Someone answers, not because they processed the question, but because 3 seconds of silence felt uncomfortable. The answer that comes out is the first thing that arrived. Not necessarily the truest thing, not the most complete thing, just the fastest thing. You don't do that. You wait until the thought is finished, until the sentence forming in your mind is actually worth releasing. And that means sometimes you say nothing, not because you're lost, but because you're still building. The problem is that the world has decided that silence means absence, that if you're not broadcasting, you're not thinking. So when you finally speak, with weight, with precision, with words that actually mean something, it surprises people, and they don't know how to hold it, because they were never trained to receive a signal, only to match noise with more noise. But here's the part that almost no one talks about, and this one might be the one that finally gives you language for something you've felt your whole life. Introverts don't just process differently, they feel differently. Research by psychologist Elaine Aron, who coined the term highly sensitive person, found that roughly 70% of introverts also score high on sensory processing sensitivity. This means you don't just think more deeply, you feel more deeply. Criticism lands harder. Beauty moves you more completely. A tense conversation doesn't just end when it ends. It follows you, turns over in you, asks to be understood. This is not weakness. This is depth. And it is also why so many introverts learned, very early, to protect themselves through silence. Not because they were afraid, because they were perceptive enough to know which rooms were safe and which rooms would use everything they gave against them. You didn't go quiet because the world was too big. You went quiet because you were paying close enough attention to know when the room wasn't worth it. Your silence was never absence, it was discernment. Now here's the question, worth sitting with. If the world keeps rewarding loudness, why does introversion still exist? If the extrovert gets the promotion, the stage, the applause, why didn't evolution simply phase you out because every tribe that ever survived needed both? It needed the ones who charged forward, who rallied the group, who spoke first, who took up space and dared others to follow. And it needed the ones who watched, the ones who noticed the danger before the charge, who held the plan when everyone else was caught up in the emotion of the moment, who remembered what everyone else forgot in the noise of celebration. Research from the University of Michigan found that introverts are more likely to notice subtle changes in their environment, process information more carefully before responding, and perform better on tasks that require sustained focus and long-term planning. These are not soft advantages. These are survival advantages. These are the traits that allowed human groups to think past the moment and live. The tribe didn't survive because it was loud. The tribe survived because it had people like you watching the edges of the fire. So here's what I want you to take from this. Stop treating your introversion like a limitation you need to manage. Stop shrinking into conference rooms to seem more approachable. Stop forcing yourself into conversations that cost you more than they give you just to prove that you can. You are not a defective extrovert. You are a fully functional introvert. And those are two completely different things. What you need is not more noise. What you need is the right environment, the right people, the rooms where depth is valued over volume, where they want what's actually going on inside your head, not a performance of something easier. Because here's the truth that no one in those personality workshops ever told you: the most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest one. It's the one who has been quietly watching, processing, and waiting, who finally decides it's time to speak. When someone calls you an introvert like it's an insult, what they're really telling you is that they've never been in the room when you finally decided the moment was worth your voice, and they don't know what they've been missing. Some people stay silent not because they have nothing to say, but because they've spent their whole lives learning that only certain rooms deserve what they carry. The question isn't why you're so quiet. The question is, who finally made you feel safe enough to speak? If this video put words to something you felt for years, then you already know this channel is built for people who think deeply and feel deeply. Subscribe, because every week we go further into the psychology that most people never get told. And drop a comment below. What's the one environment where you finally feel free to be fully yourself? I read every single one.